All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
I've been muted this entire time. Let's try this again. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. 10:05 on the East Coast, October 14th, 2022. Thank you for joining us here on ASAP in the morning. Looks like I'm rolling solo for a while. Ray is unable to be here this morning. But we'll see if we can get any of the other guys jumping on. While we do that, feel free, please go check us out here on ASAP Network on all the different platforms that you see on your screen. We are live this morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you can find us on those platforms on YouTube, ASAP Sports Network, on Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. If you like the stuff you see here on the morning show, we generally have a wild, man, excuse me, my reflex is not liking what we're doing this morning. Doesn't like to cooperate. Can't catch a breath for a reason. But if you like any of the content that you see here on All Sports All Plays Network, hit the like, the share, the comment, the sub button. Throw in some comments. Like to interact with everybody. It's going to be a conversation today. It's going to be a back and forth conversation today. So just let me know where you're tuning in from today. B, what you looking forward to this weekend? What in the sports world? If you're a college football fan, a lot of big college football matchups going on. The NFL, you got the Cowboys and Eagles, you got the Chiefs and the Bills. Lots of intriguing matchups in the NFL. Week number 6 now. Week number 6. Once the bye weeks hit, it gets confusing. Well, good morning. We're trying to hit some subscriber goals. We're trying to hit some sub goals on YouTube. We're almost at 800, trying to hit that 1,000 mark. We've got 3,500 likes and 9,000 follows on Facebook. So trying to hit that 4K, 10K mark. You can also throughout the broadcast send us stars. That helps support all the content that we do here on the All Sports All Plays Network. Won't let me go to a background solo? No? Okay. No worries. All right. Like I said, this morning is just going to be a conversation between us. Is that cool? Can we do that? The conversation between us. And I guess the first thing, talking this morning, you want to talk about the Thursday night football game. My goodness. I know Mike on the mic did a Bears post game last night, and wow, that's all I have to say is that game is it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. Ray and I yesterday morning, we're talking about what this potential game could be, and it was not going to be, it wasn't going to be a good one. We didn't think it was going to be a very exciting game. It's one of those matchups that the NFL is just like, here, you just let's throw two teams up against the wall and see what happens, see what sticks. And that's how we got the Commanders 1-4 against the Bears, who were 2-3. But it's also what we thought it was going to be, in the sense that the Bears' strength was their pass defense, and the strength of the Washington Commanders was their passing offense. So we got exactly what we thought we were going to get, is strength versus strength. The weakness of the Bears offensively was passing the ball, and that was the weakness of the Commanders. But which one was more incompetent is really what the question was. Which one of those was weaker? And it shows that the Bears passing offense, I don't know what else there would be for them to do at this point. Yes, they've only played 6 games, but Justin Fields, when he's out there, I don't know. It's got to be a mixture of play calling, scheme, all this, because he has no time to throw the ball. Rarely has any time to throw the ball. B, as soon as he gets to a read, he tucks and runs. As soon as he gets to a read, he will then tuck and run. And then, like, he did that a lot from what I was able to watch in the fourth quarter, and the second half, I should say. What I was able to watch, Justin Fields didn't look really comfortable. But at the same time, I don't know if it was play calling or what, because they mostly ran the football, and they were designed runs, like designed QB keeps, running behind the tackles. I just didn't understand the play calling. But a few of the plays in the second half, Fields shows that potential. He hit Pettis for a 40-yard pass for the first touchdown of the game in the third quarter. And then, but that's this where we get to the fourth quarter, the 2-minute situations, or even in 2-minute offense for the Bears. It just didn't look good. Justin Fields didn't look good. And the jury's out on why that is, right? So let me know in the comments. I know, like I said, this is what takes me a conversation. Let me know what you thought about the Thursday night game. I know it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. 12-7 was the final. Commanders didn't look great. The Bears don't have any offense, but we knew that pass defense was going to stand tall, and that's what they did. The defense went out and they did what they had to do. But then from there, it was just the offense. The offense wasn't able to pick up their slack, pick up their own slack, really. I mean, when you got a 3-0 halftime game, I don't really know what was worse, this Thursday night game or the previous Thursday night game. We had the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. But really, if it wasn't for a muffed punt, if it wasn't for that muffed punt in the fourth quarter by Chicago, when the Bears defense held strong, the Commanders offense couldn't really move the ball. So they decided, all right, let's punt it. Muffs the punt. And now if you're Commanders, you've got the ball back inside the 10. That was the biggest part of their offense. What felt like all game was a muffed punt to give them great field position. That was the biggest part of their offense, it felt like. So then they utilized Brian Robinson Jr. to get their first touchdown of the game. And but it just wasn't pretty. Yeah, this game just was not pretty. For Carson Wentz throwing, I think he was averaging around 300 yards a game, gets 99, 12 of 22 when he dropped back to pass. That I don't think that was not an indictment on the Commanders. That was Chicago's defense. You know, we saw coming into the game, they were 6th in the NFL in pass defense. And you've got a team in the Commanders who was in the top 10, top 5 in passing offense, you know, leading up to this game. So you knew something had to give. Was it going to be the Bears defense against the Commanders, or was it the Commanders defense, you know, giving up to the Bears because they weren't necessarily successful in stopping the run, the Commanders defense, leading up, you know, coming into week 6. But the Bears that's what they did, is they're very strong. They're very strong on the ground. They had essentially a 3-headed monster. You got Montgomery, Herbert, and Fields. Now, some of these rushing attempts by Fields were scrambles because of the pocket breaks down. That first read isn't there, tuck and run, and we're going to go. But some of these are legitimately designed runs. And if you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, you have to wonder, you know, for Matt Eberflus, what's going on in that QB room that they're looking at this going, all right, is our offensive line isn't very strong. We've got a strong run game. We got a strong defense. We're just going to run you, Justin Fields. We're just going to run you. We're going to treat you like a running back. Ray's joining from a distance this morning. Oh, excuse me. Holding down the fort. Yeah, that wasn't a very good game. Definitely agree with that. You know, we're talking about that this morning. But if you want to, if you look at now of what this game, what's the result? The result is now the Commanders, they improved to 2-4, but more importantly for the Commanders is they were able to get an ugly win on the road in the NFL and essentially keeping Ron Rivera's job for another week. That's really all the Commanders are doing right now, is every time they win, they're just holding off Ron Rivera's job because there's been a lot of conversation about him being on the hot seat. Lots of conversation of him being on the hot seat. Whether it's warranted or not, Ron Rivera has been a great coach in multiple different places that he's been, you know, help developing the type of culture that a lot of NFL franchises want to see. Doesn't always translate to wins on the field. And of course, that's the end all be all in the NFL. Win or you don't have a job. Win or you don't have a job. But for the Bears, now dropping to 2-4, third in the NFC North division, you're essentially, your expectations, I don't know what the expectations were for Chicago Bears fans coming into this year, but I wasn't hoping that it would be to contend for the division title because you got 2 other teams in that division, mainly just one team to beat, and that's Minnesota, who they hung tough with on the road. But you got them and the Packers in the NFC North. Obviously, the Lions are the Lions. But if you look at this early in the season, 6 games into the season, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody please can fact check me on this, but Eberflus, this is his first coaching job. His first head coaching position. I'm going to look this up because I am definitely want to make sure I'm right here. But Eberflus, coaching career, yeah, he hasn't been a head coach. So in his first 6 games, he's 2-4. This is something that I was thinking about watching Mike's post game last night here on All Sports All Plays Network, talking about the incompetency and basically, you know, we're 6 games now into a brand new head coaching regime, and you got to you show some signs of life. You got strong defense. You can definitely run the football. Chicago now, after this game, of course, they're top in the NFL in rushing, you know, but they were number 6 leading into this game, and they're averaging just under 200 yards a game on the ground. But if you're looking at Eberflus in his first 6 games, 2-4. Yes, that's disappointing for Chicago Bears fans, but that's the first year of a new regime. You're just trying to get new mindsets in there. You're trying to get players to adapt to the way that you want to play. Conversely, if you look across the division and you've got Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, and now we're year 2 into the Dan Campbell experiment. They were winless through their first 9-10 games. And you want to talk about incompetent coaching. I think the Bears fans have to temper a little bit and be a little bit more patient, perhaps. Because, I mean, when you got 2 wins in your first 5 games, that's already a good step in the right direction. Obviously, they're not going to be 5-0 or anything, but it's hard to win in the NFL. With that said, we're going to bring in Rob Scott this morning. Rob, good morning, sir.
Good morning, my good brother. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, man. We're holding down the fort this morning.
I saw you, man. You were doing a great job, man. I was like, man, let me hurry up and get out this phone call, man, so I go help my mans out. and by the way, I meant to inbox you this other day, man. You're doing an amazing job as a host. So,
thanks, Rob. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We always love having you on the show, man. We love having you on. It's always fun anytime we get you and some of the other guys here on the show. We got some combustible elements then. But it makes for some good television, that's for sure.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
All right, so I'm talking a little bit about the Thursday night game, and Ray and I were talking yesterday morning, and we kind of both had at least an understanding. We felt like this game was going to be exactly what we ended up seeing. It's a Thursday night game where they just let's throw 2 teams up against the wall, and those 2 teams are going to play Thursday night. And then you end up seeing this type of product in the field. And there were some highlight plays either way, but we felt the strength of Chicago was the run game and the pass defense. And for the Commanders, their strength is their pass offense. We knew something had to give. Mm-hmm. And so now being from Chicago, being Chicago man yourself, from that
sad day.
Yeah, from that perspective, what do you guys see when you watch the Bears play in week out? Like, what'd you see last night? Is there anything to be hopeful about from what you saw last night?
Well, honestly, I'm hopeful about Fields. I mean, I've been very critical of Fields, but last night he showed me some toughness. He showed me grit. He showed me the same things that we saw in college. Remember when he was in Ohio State and he played Clemson and that great comeback victory that he had, even though he had been hurt throughout that game. And yet he toughed it out. I mean, he even made Sports Illustrated because of that. I mean, that's a legendary game as far as college goes. So I knew what we were getting with Fields, but last night to see it on a professional level made me a little excited. Like, okay, we have a quarterback. There's some things he can touch up on. As far as holding the ball too long, that's something I don't like. Me and one of my friends were talking about this, and Fields holds on to the ball entirely too long. It's like he's waiting for the receivers to get separation instead of hitting them when they're open in that window. And this is the NFL. It's not going to be. It's going to be a lot of receivers that don't get separation just because the defenders are just that much good. But last night was just a catastrophe. I mean, it's hard to really evaluate Justin Fields when he's in fear for his life. The
Mhm.
man was running for his life, and it's hard to feel comfortable in the pocket when you know I have like literally 0.5 seconds before this pocket collapses, and now I'm trying not to get hurt because we saw what maybe 3 or 4 times last night. He got up slowly off the field. One of them, he made me laugh. He hit the big papa pump, wanted to do the push-ups on the
Yeah.
ground to show that he's a tough guy. But hey, I mean, you keep getting hit in the same spot. I don't care how tough you are. It's gonna hurt when you're picking yourself up off the ground. And the receivers are just bad. They're bad. I'm sorry. I mean, I like Moody. I feel like he made a tremendous catch at the end of the game. Too bad he couldn't keep control of it for it to be a touchdown. I knew it when I saw it. I'm like, that's not a tutty. It's not a tutty. He didn't have possession of it in
Yep.
the end zone. So I mean, but just the receivers are just bad. They can't get any separation. And I think the play calling is bad. I Offensively, they did a little bit more. They ran a couple bootlegs last night, a couple trick plays, a couple play action to try to get Justin Fields, in a rhythm. But I just feel you need to get some offensive help for Eberflus. I mean, he was a defensive coordinator. He probably still has that defensive mindset. You need to get somebody experienced in here to try to help these guys out because right now, I don't even see the Bears having a 500 season.
Well, I don't know what, and that's what I was talking about right when you come in. I don't know what the expectation was in Chicago because yes, you got some pieces there on defense. Roquan Smith's situation was playing out a little bit, wanted out, and then decided against it. But you have some pieces on that defense, some exciting potential, and then on offense, you just knew like, okay, we need receivers. We don't know how the offensive line holds up, but we got Fields and we got Montgomery, and now Herbert has kind of stepped up his game over this season. I don't really know what the expectations were, but if 500 or better was the expectation in Chicago this year in a first year in a new system, I think expectations probably had to be adjusted, if you know what I mean.
I would say this, speaking from a realistic Bears fan, because I know we all have our hopeful fans. Cowboy fans are good for it. Right now they're screaming Super Bowl. So I mean, you got a couple Bears fans that's eccentric like that. They're like, oh my God, they're gonna do so much better this year. And I'm like, no, they're not. My realistic expectations was at least to try to win the season sweep against the Packers, just because Aaron Rodgers himself is going through some trials and tribulations, not having Devontae. They didn't have Lazard in the first game. So I thought that would be a clean win for the Bears and that they will at least be able to beat the Packers. If they got to 500 and won the season series against the Packers, to me, successful season. I didn't see the Bears making the playoffs. I didn't see the Bears even sniffing the wild card. But it's worse than I thought. I thought the offensive line would get a little bit better, but it's worse than I thought. It's bad. It's bad. And like I said, nothing against Mooney. I like Darnell Mooney, but when you have literally a number 3 receiver on the championship team pretending to be your number 1, it's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, definitely not. And that kind of brings me a little bit to what I was touching on a few minutes ago is when I don't know if it's play calling or what. Justin Fields has shown the last couple of weeks that he can make some plays if you give him some time, give him a pocket. But it just seems like whether it's the play call, hey, this is where we want you to throw it. 2-15 calling it now. I don't know about all that, Damian. But hey, good morning. Damian's bringing his own heat this morning.
I mean, no offense to Craig, we do get a chance to play the Lions.
Yeah, you got 2 wins right there. You got 2 wins right there. But what I see from Justin Fields is it's a lot what you're talking about. I don't think it's that he's just staring down receivers. It's that I don't think he's moving on past his first option.
No.
I don't think he's making his progressions, because from what I saw in the fourth quarter last night in the crunch time situation is, and then what was it? It was a third and 1, and then he took like a 13-yard sack.
Oh, I know what
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was 3rd and 1, obvious passing situation for them because even when you're you have a strong run game, you got, Kirk Herbstreit saying in this part, he's this stretch, he's like play action, play action, play action, play action, because defenses don't respect Justin Fields' arm. They ran play action and they didn't bite at all.
No,
they didn't bite, because then he took a sack.
But that brings me back to my point with that offensive line. Like, I don't think even Justin Fields has had time to adjust to the NFL game,
right?
Because he's constantly running. I mean, this is with Chicago. This is a repeated history. Same song, same dance. When we actually had a pretty decent team, they couldn't protect Jay Cutler. Then we get Trubisky. They couldn't protect Trubisky. Now we have Fields. They can't protect Fields. When is somebody in a general manager or president of operations or somebody going to say, maybe we should try to start drafting offensive linemen? Maybe we should try to get some receivers, because right now you're not going to get any top receivers that want to come to Chicago.
Right.
Who wants to come here and pretty much do career suicide?
Yeah. Well, the great thing that you look at too is, outside of the really top receivers, outside of those, there aren't many players that actually you can look at in free agency and go, I can plug and play this guy. There's always people reaching for receivers, trying to find a top receiver, and they end up underperforming, i.e. Allen Robinson when he went to Chicago. Everyone's like, oh, this is a great, this is going to be a great fit because he's a number 1 receiver. He didn't have a quarterback in Jacksonville, but I mean, he might have a little bit better of a quarterback now. And then he goes in and it doesn't go well at all. But that just goes to show that where you put your focus in the NFL draft is what you're going to get. So the Bears didn't focus. They don't really focus much on getting offensive linemen or wide receivers in the first 2 days of the draft. Rarely do they do that. What do they focus on? They focus on the quarterback and defense.
And the defense
those are strong parts for them.
And honestly, and that's what we've always been known for. That's a Chicago trademark, running defense. The defense is not, to me, they're not the worst in the world, but they're certainly not the monsters of the Midway.
Right.
They don't give you that feel that, I remember at one point in time, we had a defense that was a top-rated team in takeaways. That front four that the Bears used to have. I remember the great days of the Tommy Harrises, the Alex Browns of the world. We are far from those days. And right now, we let Khalil Mack go. We act like we don't want to pay Roquan Smith. It's too much. I mean, Akeem Hicks now is a Buccaneers. I mean, so it's. I mean, I don't know in what direction that the Chicago Bears organization is going in right now, but I'm telling you right now, man, it's not looking good for us, Craig.
Well, when you have somebody in your ownership, front office, whatever, that I gotta know, okay, this has nothing to do with on the field more than it does cosmetically. Whose decision was it to have bright ass orange helmets the first time in their over 100-year history that they've not worn the dark helmet? I swear to God, we were you should have been here yesterday. We were cracking Halloween jokes left and right about the Bears kit last night. Oh my goodness.
Well, the play was definitely scary last night in a different way.
Right.
It was bad,
Absolutely.
man. It was bad last night. I almost wanted to. It was almost as bad as the Denver Indy game,
That's
except Washington was able to finally break the barrier and get some points, in the end. And Justin Fields threw a nice touchdown pass to Pettit. I think that was his name.
yeah.
And that's the thing.
That is,
I've
yeah.
never heard of this guy. I'm like, oh, that's one of our receivers. Like,
Yeah.
it's bad, dude. It's bad. But like I said, if there's one positive takeaway I can take away from last night, Justin Fields played a decent game, and I have high expectations for that kid, but I'm also scared for him because he took so many hits last night. And as I mentioned, those times where you see him getting up off the field very slow, he's grabbing at his arm, he's grabbing at his abdomen. It's like, and that's a big kid. Justin Fields is a big kid, and he's trying, and you can tell he cares. He's trying everything in his power to make something happen. And
Mhm.
I admit, like I agree with Ray. I mean, Ray also makes a great point about the fact that he's not able to read defenses. So we understand there's things he can get better in, but to me, it's hard to get better when I'm scared. It's like
Yeah. I wanted to bring up this graphic here, and it's all of Chicago's drives throughout the game. And you can see like the box score and all that kind of stuff too. But one of the things that I look at, and even afterwards, right? Like to me, they really only had two solid drives. One in the first quarter that resulted in a pick, 11 plays, 61-yard drive. And then the other one is the second quarter. They had a 5-play, 69-yard drive. Their touchdown drive, of course, that's always a positive, right? But then you look at, I see they've turned it over on downs three times in this game, which means they went for it a couple times. I didn't get a chance to watch the first half. I didn't.
Oh, I can tell you right now, they pissed me off. Like, I get it. They got to like the 1 yard line, I want to say. It's either one or the two. And Justin Fields had missed. He missed a touchdown pass. I will say that the Bears actually called a great play. They did a little bootleg, fake like they were going to hand it off, and then fake like it was going to be a reverse. And I think that it was either not Komet, but their other tight end. He got free. He got open. Hit the out route, and Justin Fields overthrew him. And it was really a simple pass and catch. So, they tried to run it in with Herbert. He gets stuffed at the 1 yard line. And I'm glad that you bring that up, because had we kicked that field goal, instead of Moody trying to get the touchdown pass at the end, we could have been kicking a field goal to take it into overtime.
Yep. And
I don't know what it is about these teams in today's NFL. Like, I get you want to be aggressive and you want to get things done, but also you can't pass up on points, especially when your offense is not good at all.
Right. That's a conversation we've had a lot on this show.
Yeah.
Is about the analytics versus the game flow. I know Ray's made his stance about analytics, and it's useful in certain times, but
analytics gonna get a lot of people messed up though.
But yeah, the way that to his point, I agree that's where the NFL is now. They've gone too far on the side of analytics. They've been favoring analytics a bit too much, because in that scenario, when you get down, and this is still the first half, when let me see, I think it was it 3-0 or was it 0-0?
It was 0-0, then
0-0.
And then Washington scored. So
Washington got a field goal just before the end of the half. That's right. That's right. But it was 0-0. So you could take the lead here. And there's a big difference when you're calling a game with the lead versus when you're calling a game when you're tied or down. There's a big difference because now from there, like you've got that confidence, like, okay, we got some points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
We can maybe then you can kind of get a little bit more aggressive if you march down the field again and have an opportunity to go up either 6-0 or 9-0, getting a touchdown. So I think that is where a lot of coaches are going to get in trouble, get themselves in trouble with going into analytics a little bit too much. But part of that's also Justin Fields, getting through his progressions, making reads. I give him a lot of credit. The last drive, it was an 8-play, 61-yard drive. And there was a play, I kid you not, I thought the game was over because it looked like as he's scrambling out to his left, and he doesn't know yet if he's going to tuck or run, tuck and run or throw it. He tucks it, he gets 25, 30 yards, and he makes a hell of a play.
Yeah.
He makes a hell of a play, and it's like, okay, they've got a chance. Then they come down in that last throw. I don't know if Mooney was supposed to get into the end zone or just run to the line, because those to me are two different problems.
Yeah.
If he's supposed to get to the back of the end zone, that's Mooney's problem, because you're told to go to the end zone. Why are you putting yourself in that position?
Yeah.
But if the play call is meant for him just to get to the line and then throw, that's on the coach and that's on the quarterback, because you got to make a better play call at that point.
You do. And also it was a missed opportunity. I can't remember which receiver it was, but I mean, the guy had, like, literally the announcer said, Justin Fields was scrambling, they're down in the red zone. We don't know how he got that ball to that receiver in the back corner of the end zone, but he got it, and it was in the receiver's hand. Now he got tackled awkwardly, but when you're making this money in the NFL, whether you're the top receiver or bottom receiver, you are a professional. You have to make those catches, and that's my problem with the Bears. I feel like the opportunities that we do get, and they are slim, but we don't even take advantage of those opportunities. I mean, we look at what Washington did. As bad as Washington is, they took advantage of a muff punt. They got muffed the punt. Washington gets the ball, and they score. And I feel like the Bears don't do that. We're on the 1-yard line. We're on the 1-yard line. The offensive line can't make a push to get the guy over the one. And Herbert is not a small guy. Montgomery is not a small guy.
Right.
And oh man, Craig, I was so disappointed last night, man. I threw my remote control, I threw my phone because Justin Fields messed up my ticket. It was just a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, do we really lose to the Commanders?
Yeah, with all the media circus surrounding the Commanders right now, and that was some news about the post-game press conference and Ron Rivera getting grilled by the media about something that doesn't even involve him.
Oh, you saw the way he stomped out and left?
Yeah.
He picked him all the way off.
Yeah, and then you got to feel bad for Ron Rivera, because he's been put in this position now where he's having to defend. Yes, Dan Snyder, went out and pulled Ron Rivera and said, "Hey, I want you to coach this team."
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, now he's got to defend him for things that don't even involve Ron Rivera. It's.
And
I don't know if
Snyder not playing fair either, because I was reading some of the articles and he's talking about, the NFL don't want to go there because I got dirt on everybody.
And that's what I was going to be my next question to you. That was a topic we talked about yesterday. Is what's Dan Snyder's end game here? I think he's feeling the pressure of the NFL and the other owners want to get him out of ownership.
Yeah.
I think they said on the broadcast last night, Al Michaels said that he's got 5 different lawsuits going right now against him. I think it was 5. And so he's got all these different scandals and lawsuits going on. And you got a coach out there that's having to defend him. And they asked him a question about, was it Dan Snyder's decision to go get Carson Wentz, and was it Dan Snyder's decision to do X, Y, and Z? And he's just like, hey guys, like I've had enough. And then he just storms out of the press conference, which I don't blame him for.
I would too. Yeah.
So what do you think about yesterday's sources that came out saying that Dan Snyder's been following around up to 6 different NFL owners, having private investigators look into them and create files on all of them, one being Jerry Jones? And like, I don't know. I feel like Dan Snyder's he's cornered, and he feels like he's trying to find any way to get himself out of this situation or create leverage to keep himself in that scenario. I don't know. You said you read a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of the situation?
I mean, you're definitely desperate. Anytime you try to quote unquote bring people down with you, everybody makes that say, I ain't gonna be the only person that go down for this. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Dan Snyder knows that he was in the wrong, and as we all know, whatever goes on in the dark, it eventually comes to the light. Mm-hmm. And he's probably not the only owner that's done it. He's just the only owner that's got caught.
Right.
And and now he's like, well, I hate to bring up the situation, but in the Kobe Shaq situation, Kobe gets exposed. Kobe say, well, Shaq do this too, and that's what Snyder is doing right now. But if you go into the extent of hiring private investigators to follow people, first of all, you're invading people's privacy. So that's a crime in itself. I mean, you're in no way, shape, or form a person who can make a call like that to say, follow this person. That's not legal. It's not legal. So I don't want people walking around thinking it's legal. It's almost funny. I call this now the billionaire wars. That's what I've dubbed this drama. The war of the billionaires. It's hilarious and it's stupid. It's causing unnecessary distractions. I get it. Most of these billionaires are dirty. That's how they got their money. But it's just no code of etiquette, no code of integrity happening. And it's sad to see that these are the quote unquote leaders of these organizations. And it brings me to Roger Goodell to saying, look at all this stuff that goes on under your watch, and you do nothing about it.
Right.
You do nothing about it. And you wonder why the NFL community wants you out. Because these are the dudes that you're pandering to. And again, I bring up David Stern. Love him or hate him, David Stern had control of the NBA. That is the job of a commissioner, is to keep control, is to keep everything balanced, to keep everything in check, to make sure that these owners don't have that much power. And he instilled that within Adam Silver. And we saw what happened with the Daniel Sterling situation. It was quick, decisive action.
Yep.
And we don't see that with Roger Goodell. We do not see that with Roger Goodell.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. That with Damian, did you see that comment?
What Damian is saying?
Helping the Caskey families in those emails to get the hell out of there.
Hey, real Chicago fans been praying for them to get out of man for years. For years. But I think that brings up a very different, two very different viewpoints on how they view their role and responsibility. David Stern, when he was commissioner of the NBA, his job at that point in the NBA was still, they were still growing worldwide. Nationally, we had the great rivalries in the 80s, and it was big in the United States, but it hadn't grown to Canada yet. Toronto wasn't a team yet. Vancouver at the time wasn't a team yet. Worldwide, all this different
worldwide tours and China's, doing a basketball league and all that kind of stuff. All that wasn't really on the major world map yet.
Mm-hmm.
So David Stern had that, like, okay, we're going to do things this way while still growing the game.
Mm-hmm.
What Roger Goodell ran himself into is that, in my opinion, is what Tagliabue did for the NFL. Help grow that game a bit. And he had his own little things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when Goodell came in, he already walked in. Essentially as a commissioner. To throw in a little reference here, he was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. He was born on third base, thought he hit a triple as a commissioner. And from there, now it's like he's got this big empire that now he steps into. It's like, so I was watching the House of the Dragon last night, right? Trying to catch up. And it's like
great series, by the way. Great series, by the way. Let me tell you.
It reminds me of the different types of kings. One king gets born into a peaceful time, right? They haven't been tested. They haven't been like, they just walk in and go, okay, yeah, this is mine. We're going to do this. But it just gives me that different vibe with Goodell, is that he's done a good job of growing the game overseas. But the problem is that he's just he looks at the dollars and cents of it and is like, all right, this is going to help make the NFL more profitable. And he doesn't make decisions that are, I think, necessarily in the best interest of the health long-term of the league, i.e. Dan Snyder, this situation. And there's a few other things in the past that have happened as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that one obviously is first and foremost in everyone's mind. But when you have this that's been going on for, it sounds like, at least 10 to 15 years.
Like,
in that
right, it's been going for a long time.
Because Dan Snyder's been the owner since 2000. So he's been an owner for 22 years. And it sounds like this has been going on for quite a while. And so that is not all on Goodell. But when things come to light, like you said, anything that happens in the dark comes to the light. When that comes out, I honestly feel like Tagliabue would have made the decision. He would have done something about it.
Yeah, especially when you see the wrath that the league comes down on players, on coaches.
That's the
that
hypocrisy
get caught up
right now in the league.
In scandals. And it's like whenever it's an owner, it's like, well, let's go through every diplomatic solution we can go through before we just, exile this guy from the NFL. And I don't think that's right. I mean, we look at the Mike Vick situation. I mean, and he served time. He served time. He got disciplined, and then you get disciplined by the NFL as well. I mean, we look at countless others of guys that, and not to say that the discipline that those guys received wasn't warranted, but my thing is, in the words of Pride, show me consistency. Keep that same energy. And that's my problem with the NFL. I feel like owners should be held to a higher standard, because you're the leader of this organization. You're the financial backbone of this organization. You're supposed to be the one setting, and I hate to use this analogy, but when you look at kids acting up in school, what is one of the first things people say? Blame the parents. This kid acts like this at home and think it's okay to come here and act the same way. And in that same reference, the owners are the parents. These are the guys that put everybody into position to keep this organization or keep organizations afloat. So if you, as the owner, the face of you're the true face of this organization, if you can't hold yourself to a higher standard, then you shouldn't be owning an NFL team. And I feel like the wrath should be much worse on the owner. You should know better. You're probably a public figure in your company, because these owners are CEOs. They are owners of multi-billion-dollar corporations. We look at somebody like Mark Cuban, Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft. I mean, you can't open your refrigerator without saying the Kraft name.
That's true.
So
the Ford family, the Ford family.
It's so when you're on a global stage like that, and you're making people feel uncomfortable at work, whether it's chauvinistic comments, whether it's racial slurs, whether you have to have some type of integrity, man. And I just don't get why is it when it comes to an owner, we have to use every resource that we have before we give out punishment.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the hypocrisy of the league, I think, is that they're very easy, very quick and swift about making punishments for players. And then if owners do something similar, I will throw out the Deshaun Watson versus Robert Kraft situation. Two of them got in very similar situations, and they treated the player way differently than they treated the owner. And take all the other factors out of it. Let's just say player versus owner. If you boil it down to just that, that in and of itself shows the hypocrisy of the league and how they treat the players versus how they handle the owners. And
it's true. I mean, we could take another situation. We look at the guy in Atlanta. I can't remember his name, but the guy that got in trouble for gambling.
Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley. So you look at Calvin Ridley getting in trouble for gambling, yet we look at Miami and the owner is literally in trouble for throwing games, for paying his people to throw games, coming to a coach and saying, I will pay you whatever the sum of money, I think it was $100,000 or $200,000 every game that you throw, this would be deposited into your account. So you're telling me that I can't gamble on games, but I can tip the scale in gambling?
Yeah. It's and that's something that I don't know if it's been talked about on.
They're all bad, Damien.
But
they're all bad. Damien's asking who's worse. They're all bad. There's not one.
You want to know what? You want to know what the common denominator is amongst a lot of these? Sexual harassment.
Oh, come on. Come on, man. I knew Vince McMahon. That didn't surprise me at all. I mean,
you knew he was going to get it at some point. He was going to come back.
You have bra and panty matches, and come on.
What the? Hey, speaking of knowing wrestling, Chris Gonzalez joins us this morning.
Hey, what's up, guys? My point went a little longer than I thought it would, but I'm here.
Hey, man, health is wealth. You take as long as you need, my brother.
Amen to that. So I know Gonzo, you guys, have talked about this, I believe, on Afternoon Blitz a little bit. We're talking about the Dan Snyder situation. Really what the NFL, how the NFL is approaching it. And then Damian brought up the question of whose situation has been worse, Donald Sterling with the Clippers, Dan Snyder with the Commanders, Vince McMahon in the WWE, or the Suns owner, Robert Sarver, with in the NBA.
I hate I share a name with that dude.
Oh yeah.
Nah, but with Sarver, it kind of hit me a little bit. It's the monkey comment, or the talking about Lindsey Hunter. Like, yeah, let's hire him as a coach because those N-words need another N-word to keep him in line. That. I would love for these owners that feel that way, or anybody that feel that way, racist SOBs. I would love for you to just let us get in the ring.
I would say that. So I made this comment yesterday about Dan Snyder, to which I was met with a little bit of pushback because of how private something should or should not be. I've always said, being in a leadership position in my day job, don't say anything to anyone that you wouldn't want the world to hear.
Say it again, Craig.
Don't say anything to anyone that you don't want the world to hear. And that goes for Twitter, that goes for emails, that goes for anything.
Especially in this day and age, because it's going to get out.
Especially if you're an owner or a player even saying something like that, because all it takes is someone like, maybe this is what happened with Dan Snyder, someone's looking for a scoop. Someone's looking for something to get their name out there that they broke this story. That's what people do. And it's not any detriment or anything that it's just, oh my God, this is juicy. Like this has got to be known.
I mean, you would go into college. You would look into people's college history. How many times are we like, oh, this guy wore blackface in college? And it's like, okay, he was young and dumb.
Right.
Like, are we really gonna hold this guy's but I'm telling you, like, to your point, Craig, they will find anything about you. And sometimes it's not even a matter of going out to find it. They hold on to the information till they feel they need to put it out there.
Yeah. Yep.
They probably already found it.
Yeah. I hope you guys don't have these skeletons in your closet then, because when ASAP hits that next level, I hope you guys don't have any skeletons in the closet. I've already went back and deleted a lot of stuff off of Facebook.
Hey, Craig, look, you say you deleted. I always tell people once it's on the web, it's on the web. Yep. Somebody can go back and find something.
And that's one reason I don't post stuff on social media other than basically like the sports stuff, because I mean, you don't even have to say nothing real bad, but hey, somebody try to come back and get you on it. Snyder, look at Snyder. He's threatening to try to bring down the whole NFL.
That's what we were just talking about. Snyder say, I ain't the only one going down.
Yeah,
all you MFers are dirty.
Yeah.
Said the NFL was like the mafia.
Yeah, so what we talked about yesterday out of that is, if you're the NFL, I treat this situation in the court of public opinion. There's one thing about what they actually have, if it goes through legal ramification or legal avenues versus the court of public opinion. I feel like with all the scandals, my owner Snyder wants all the smoke. He's asking for it, Anthony. He's asking for it.
He wants the chimney. He wants the stove.
Yeah, he wants it. He wants it all. He doesn't even want the electric stove either. He wants the old school gas stove.
Old gas stove, baby.
He wants the gas.
He wants the one that.
Yep. Yep, that's what he wants. He wants the ignition. He wants the lighter. All of it. He wants all of it.
Jesus.
But I feel like from the public opinion, they're probably, knowing what Dan Snyder's been talked about in the media, I strongly feel that the media, or I should say the public opinion, they're going to look at Dan Snyder the same way that they looked at Jose Canseco when it came to steroids. Yes, he did it. And he's like, yeah, but look at boom. And he throws out all this stuff. And then everyone everyone looked at Jose Canseco like, dude, you're just all this stuff. You're just trying to save face, man. Go away. Just go away. And it eventually gets swept up in the next story that comes out. Right. I feel like that's where Snyder's at right now, is he's in a really interesting predicament that a lot of people are going to look at him the same way they looked at Jose Canseco. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have valid information, but it just means that people are not going to give it credibility because of what he's already done.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow the NFL to continue what they're doing.
You know what? It depends on what he does know. Because if he knows some dirt, like some image hurting dirt, then it might be some owners that's in Goodell air, like, let it blow over. I don't want him to say nothing. You know? Because
Anthony makes a solid point here. That would shake up the NFL.
And I agree with him. And
that's essentially what happened with the steroid investigation, is that when Canseco came out and, did under oath and put out a lot of what he had, while a lot of people didn't want to credit him, it did lead to a lot of changes in Major League Baseball and how they viewed steroids. So if this comes out, the NFL is in a weird spot where they want to call his bluff to see if he's really got it, but they're afraid that if they do call his bluff and he does have it, you're talking about some of these owners could really be in trouble. And you might be talking about a fundamental change in how you select owners and who gets to be an owner in the NFL.
You could see maybe a lot of teams getting new owners.
Mhm.
Yep.
And now, it's a very interesting time indeed, because you have to look at it from a racial standpoint. There's already been complaints of, lack of black leadership, whether it's in the operations department, whether you're GM or president, the lack of black head coaches, but we have a flock of black players. So now when we get allegations of owners saying this or owners doing that, and it involves that, you already putting yourself in a fiasco. We know about the council me culture. Right now, look, even myself, and I'm not rich and famous at all. I watch what you say to women. Now, me, I don't say anything. I'm married man. But I'm saying, if I was still out here in the game, I probably have to make you sign an NDA before we even go on a date. Like, look, are we okay with this? I need a witness signing this that she consented to hold my hand or something.
Yeah.
In the world that we live in today is just a scary time.
We need to go check your ID, make sure you're the age you say you are.
Man, look, I'm telling you, I might have to hire a private investigator just to follow us around and make sure, hey, she consented to that. You know what I'm saying? But you look at everything that the landscape that the world is in, and right now the NFL is not in a good place. They've been in good drama. We see the Deshaun Watson situation. We saw the Miami Flores situation. Now we're seeing the Snyder situation. We saw the Gruden situation. There's just been constant drama surrounding the NFL. And if Dan Snyder does indeed have some big time dirt on these owners, right now the NFL can be in a situation where maybe outside people step in now to start investigating.
Oh, Congress will probably step in like they did with Major League Baseball.
And even the Brett Favre situation, even though he's not in the NFL, we know where Brett Favre is from, and that's still, I don't care what anybody says. Whatever he did, people, it's gonna be a distraction to the NFL because Brett Favre made his name in the NFL. So right now the NFL is just not in a good place at all.
Didn't Deshaun Watson didn't another case just come out on him?
Yeah, it's
yesterday it was brought to, I think it was ESPN had it.
Yeah, at this point I'm like, damn, Deshaun, how many massages did you need?
Yeah, ESPN says he is facing an additional lawsuit, and Anthony made a good comment. He even had women sign an NDA, and he still got in trouble.
It's bad.
Still got in trouble.
And you know what? Deshaun, look, dude. You don't need a happy ending every time you have a massage, bro.
Hey, man, if you're addicted to the result of that, then if you're addicted to that feeling, then it's
go get a girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. Or just
it's just bad. Like the NFL, to me, it's almost taken away from the game. Because now you're watching, Sports Center and all these various sports shows, including the ASAP Network. You know how we do it. But you're watching all these various shows, and we're not even talking about the game. We're talking about the fiasco outside of the game, and that's what this is right now. It's a fiasco.
Did you guys already talk about that great Thursday night game last night?
It was so great. It was tremendous.
Hey, everybody was talking about the Colts and the Broncos was the worst game ever. That gave it a run for its money last night.
Are you talking about the Commanders versus the Gummy Bears last night?
The Gummy Bears.
If it wouldn't been for that muff punt, I don't think there would have been Commanders would have scored a touchdown.
Commanders. I mean, I'm trying to think of a nickname for the Commanders because they were not commanding anything last night.
They were not, man. That was horrible. Oh my God. Yeah, we talked about Chris. What's your take? Go ahead and give us your take is probably more interesting than the game was.
Oh, it was terrible. I saw a thing where people said Amazon was going to file a thing against NFL because they're losing a bunch of subscribers.
Hey, I'm telling you, Amazon gonna have to start paying people. Luckily, though, I won't lie though. Being a Chicago fan, AP, y'all got a W. I ain't mad at you. Being a Chicago fan, it came on Fox. It does show on your local TV if that's your team that's playing.
Yeah.
So it came. I didn't have to bear with the bad Amazon service this Thursday.
Yeah, based on a couple of the Amazon games that on Thursday Night Football, they should be giving me a credit being a Prime member.
I'm telling you,
they should give me a monthly credit for having to watch that stuff.
Look, we didn't have to bear the Amazon channel this time, but we did have to bear the Bears. I mean,
had to bear the Bears. Yep.
Dude, the Bears will get Justin Fields killed, dude.
Oh, I just said that.
Yeah,
I'm in fear for this kid life. I'm in fear for his life. Chris, I liked when he did the big Papa Pump push-ups. He tried to show some toughness there, but it's like every time I looked up, he was like, oh, I know. Look, if I'm Justin Fields, I'm not going to lie to y'all. And I do not promote, look, in any shape, way, or form does ASAP promote or condone violence of any kind. But if I'm Justin Fields, we fighting in the locker room. Me and somebody from the offensive line, we got to fight. We got to fight. Because it's like, dude, you don't want to protect it. Can you protect yourself? Now I want to see, can you protect yourself?
Here's my question. When are teams going to quit passing up on points?
We just said that, bro.
Yeah, we said the same thing.
You see it every week. Team passes up on points and it comes back to haunt them every
Bite
week.
them right in the ass.
Yep.
In the whole point to score points.
Especially, Chris, as I alluded to with Craig, as we were talking about this earlier, when you're an offense that's struggling, you can't put points on the board. You are not in a position to pass up any points that you may get. I'm not going for it on fourth down. Kick the field goal, live to fight another day. Because 9 times out of 10, the Commanders' sorry ass, they're not going to score either.
No,
it was the battle of the sorries last night. That's what I called it.
Their offensive line is terrible.
And unfortunately, the Bears was the sorriest damn team on the field.
The thing is, I don't know if I don't think the Colts offensive line is better than the Bears offensive line.
No, I'm sorry, Chris. We have the worst offensive line.
I don't know, man. Have you watch that Colts offensive line? They're terrible too.
They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad.
Oh man, it was like, no offense to AP. I know he's a Washington fan. You a loyal fan for still claiming that. Because right now I'm about ready to let my credentials go for the Chicago Bears. I've already looked. Once I saw that game last night, I said, hell, bring on the Bulls.
That's what Damien said. I want to find that comment.
I'm telling you, bro.
Damien said, thank God basketball season is here, damn it.
But then Damien said he wanted Nagy back. No, you don't want Nagy back, dude.
It's bad.
I mean, it's just interesting. Like
Eberflus.
Yeah, Eberflus. I don't know, man.
Well, I think Eberflus could be all right, but they should have hired an experienced offensive coordinator, not a guy who's never been an offensive coordinator before. You hire a defensive-minded coach, hire an experienced offensive coordinator, and I think they'd have been in a better situation. Not hire a guy that's never called plays before and put them with a young quarterback.
Yeah, because the defense they're not the monsters of the Midway. But they are, Craig mentioned it earlier. They have a decent pass defense. Now, you can run on the Bears all day, but they have a decent pass defense. And their front four is not the worst front four in the world. But when your defense is mediocre, you got to get help from somewhere. And the way that they were teeing off on that kid last night on Justin Fields, man, first of all, I got questions about we need to figure out what is roughing the passer and what is not. Because I saw Justin Fields get beat up last night.
Hey, his name isn't Tom Brady, dude.
That's something we talked about earlier this week and it was after the Monday night game too, because we had that they had roughing the passer on
when the guy had a ball
when the Chiefs played, right?
Yeah, he took the ball from had the ball. It gets called for roughing the passer.
And they said that he felt all of his body weight on him, and that was the pass. That was the roughing the passer.
Yeah, he said he couldn't see it in real time. That he extended his left arm to catch his body from falling. But then you look at also in the same game, they had a play against Pat Mahomes, and he got swung. And I'm like, okay, well, last week, if I recall, another defender got called for a roughing the passer doing the same exact thing that was just done to Pat Mahomes, and they didn't call it. So I'm kind of now at a standpoint of, okay, if we're looking at the NFL, what's roughing the passer and what's not, and we need to get a clear definition of that, because at this point, I'm thinking the referees are just throwing flags when they feel like it.
The problem is I don't think the referees know what roughing the passer is anymore. They're trying to overcorrect because what happened to Tua.
Yep.
That's
in a nutshell. In a nutshell.
And
like it's bad.
Night, Fields got hit low on one.
Yeah, he did.
That should have been called.
Because I thought you're not supposed to hit quarterbacks below the belt.
No, you're not. You're not supposed to be able
you're not supposed to go out to their legs, right?
Whatever.
Right.
And that looked ugly too. And they didn't call nothing on that. And then you see other players just get tapped on the head and then they'll throw a flag. So
I mean, you blow on Tom Brady is roughing the passer. It's like, you know, and I know Fields, man. I hope right now he's somewhere icing.
Well, like I said earlier in the week, if they keep calling these roughing the passers like they are, they might as well just have the quarterbacks wear the red jersey like they do at practice, and you can't touch them.
Well, my thing is, I say you might as well put flags on them.
Well, even what you saw later in that Raiders-Chiefs game on Monday night, Max Crosby had a sack on Pat Mahomes, and he stood him up, and he just stood there and held him and waited for the whistle to blow. Mm-hmm. And Pat Mahomes, smartly, didn't try to get out of it. So it's like, is that now the direction that they want sacks to be handled? You know, do they want players to just, hey, get there just like a practice, right? The red jersey, you get up there, just wrap and stand there. Okay, blow the play dead.
Well, because if you remember right, a couple of years ago in the playoffs, the guy from the Chiefs was going to have a sack, and he kind of let up because he didn't want to hit him hard, and they ended up getting a play to win the game. So I mean, they already favor the game so much for the offense. You can't keep taking away things from the defense, because eventually, you're not going to be able to hit nobody.
Yeah. Basically, it'll just be 7-on-7. Just play 7-on-7 drill.
I say, might as well play a glorified game of flag football. And Damian, I hate to disappoint you. Zappe or Zappy, he's gonna come in, and Zappy gonna come in and zap our ass.
Bears are on prime time again next week.
I mean, look, I you know what? I want to go to the NFL right now and say, who in the hell made these schedules?
Broncos are on prime time again this week.
I'm so tired of seeing Denver sorry ass on prime time.
Denver's on Monday night. They're on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. I don't know about that game. That's but Damian, to answer your question, or I should say that I want to address that last part. I said the same thing about the Lions, because I was like, there's no way a Matt Patricia led offense, you know, the Lions can get some revenge on him on the road. A third string rookie quarterback making his first career start, and the Lions scored 0 points because Dan Campbell went analytics and didn't kick a single flipping field goal. I'm going to leave it at that.
Hey, I like how you had to catch yourself, Craig.
You like that, Rob? Yeah, we're on TV. I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it.
Baby. Oh,
I can't edit live TV.
That game messed up my parlay. I wasn't very happy about that game. I didn't think there was any way the Lions was going to lose, especially get blown out.
So my point was, for Damian's comment, what I said after that week, and now the Lions are on a bye week this weekend, is if the Lions gave up 30 or more and lose the game to a Matt Patricia led offense with a third string quarterback, somebody's got to get fired. That's where I was sitting. And I think that's where you're feeling as well, Damian, is, there's no way we can do that. And it's going to happen.
I hate to say it, Damian, you're probably going to jail.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
You lose, he's going to jail. You're probably going to jail.
I'm telling you right now. You know, everybody keeps saying trash, so I'm going to just say it in a different way. The Bears are basura. Basura.
See, I feel the same way about the Colts. If they lose this week to Jacksonville, I think somebody's getting fired.
And that's we're 5-6 games now. We're in week 6, and we're talking about getting people fired.
But when you get to week 5, week 6, week 7, you kind of know who's who. We see the habits that have been built up. We see the demeanors that the team has. I mean, when I see the Bears, they don't look like they think they're gonna win. You can tell them body language. Justin Fields try to amp himself up. And I like what I do like about the kid is he'll say, "Okay, I need to play better. That's on me." Like last night, he realized he missed a touchdown. He missed that tight end. You had him open. That's the cleanest look you probably gonna get all night, and you missed it. But I don't know what it is. These coaches, because right now in the NFL, it's either you good or you're not. And it's bad. Like we used to have some in between teams back in the day.
Yeah,
it's like if you ain't good, you suck.
Yeah, it's the haves and the have-nots. It's becoming the NBA, in Major League Baseball, same thing. It's the haves and the have-nots, and I think that's where the NFL. The great thing about the NFL is there is a lot of parity, because how many of us through 5 weeks saw the Giants having 1 loss?
I didn't.
I
thought about week 4, Saquon. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, I thought Saquon would be hurt.
Well, they've won more games this season than they had the last couple already, haven't they?
Yeah, they're on pace, I think, because they had 3 wins last year. 2 wins, 3 wins, somewhere in there.
Not to mention, it was a great bounce back win. You lose to the Cowboys and then come back and beat Green Bay in London.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And they had chances to beat the Cowboys.
They did.
They
were in that game. Speaking of Cowboys, who the hell thought the Cowboys would be 4-1? With an injured Dak Prescott.
That's the key. With an injured Dak Prescott.
But them defenses, I think Cowboys got the best defense in the league. I think the Cowboys got the best defense in the league. It's between them and the Eagles. Because to me, Buffalo's secondary is garbage. But they got a lot of injuries in their secondary. So I'd say the Cowboys right now, Micah and Diggs, to me, Diggs was the key. Because Diggs is not gambling as much this year. He's actually playing great defense, and he's picking and choosing when he's going for those interceptions. He's not gambling on every play, and he's actually a pretty decent corner. Now, I just hope he don't start running his mouth like Jalen Ramsey. Because Jalen Ramsey put his foot in his mouth so many times.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
The corners start doing good, and then they think they're Dion and start running their mouth. And
there's only one Dion.
There is only one Dion. That's for sure.
But NBA start this Tuesday. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's one of the other topics I wanted to talk about today. The NBA gets started.
Something happened.
Oh, well, NBA though.
There you go.
Getting started with the NBA, man. What you think about this Zion injury? You saw Zion rolled his ankle. I did. It didn't look good to me. I mean, he was able to play. I think he stayed in there like about 3 minutes, and then they finally pulled him out. He didn't play any in the second half. It's like that kid can't catch a break, man. That kid can. I think he's gonna be all right. He said he's good. I don't think it was any structural damage done, but that's gonna be something that you have to look out for, because so much of his game is predicated on his power, and everybody know that power come from down here first. It come from the lower extremity. So if he's hurt on his ankle, not to mention we're gonna be keeping an eye on his weight problem as well. Yeah, it's not gonna be. But I think New Orleans is going. That's my sleeper team in the West.
I think that's one thing that I've always said about Zion, and it's not a disrespect at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he was riding a fine line when he came into the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
As far as he's definitely a tweener. He's not a power forward. He's not a small forward. He's his own body type. He's his own build. But the problem is when you have a game that he has shown a little bit of expansion in his game of, putting in some post moves and jump shot and expanding his range out to the 3-point line. But the base style of his play is not sustainable for 10, 15 years.
No.
You know what I mean? Like and I think that's starting to catch up with him because of all the injuries that he's had. And you go back to even when he was at Duke, he looked so good because he was far and above the best athlete on the court. But now when you get in the NBA, you've got a lot of the best athletes in the world on the court.
Exactly.
So you gotta adjust your game and you gotta be able to adapt. I look at Zion in two different lenses.
Okay.
I see how he plays his game, a little bit of Russell Westbrook, where he hasn't really adapted a ton, and he plays his way, and that's the way he's going to play. But I also see him a lot like Derrick Rose, who has a ton of potential. Injuries are going to slow him down and prevent him from getting to that potential. So he's got two different things that are working against him. Is that because of his injuries, he's been having to just worry about getting back to normal and then play his game. But when he's not able to adapt his game to offset those injuries and you're essentially trying to force him to become a player that he's not. And I don't think that works well in the scope of the NBA. So, there was always not controversy, but there's always the conversation leading back to, would you take Zion or Ja Morant? And Zion's got this big star power coming in, and he's this supreme athlete. But like you said, with the power comes from the waist down for him. That's where a lot of his stuff comes from. He's very explosive. When that explosion is gone, what are you left with?
That was my question
mark. That was my question mark for Zion going back to college. When you lose that explosion, what are you left with?
Yeah, because that second jump ability is one thing that makes him so good, is how quick he can get up on that second jump. Yeah, I think and like you're saying, Craig, when you're always rehabbing from injuries, you can't practice on getting your game better or adjusting your game because you're always working just to get back on the court. I'm just hoping he don't turn into somebody like the Greg Odens and some of these other guys that we see that never reached their potential and kind of just fade out because of injuries.
Yeah, because and that's a great question. Like now, if we know what we know now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would pick Ja. You know,
I was on that train from day one.
Hey.
It's a guard-driven league, man. Ja Morant, even if he becomes a Russell Westbrook type player for a few years, because that's what he was in college coming out. He's a very explosive player. Didn't really develop much of a jump shot.
Yeah, well, he can shoot. He can shoot now.
He can, but he's worked on that too, right?
He's worked on it. He's worked
coming out of college. The conversation was, do you want Ja or Zion? Yeah. And I was in the minority, and I was like, give me Ja Morant, because that's where the league is.
I get you. And Ja has, in his own right, he has shown that you can. We still have yet to see how great this kid can be.
Right.
But he's kind of proven that you can kind of start a franchise with him. Like if you need a point guard, you're like, who's gonna be my starting PG? I'll go with Ja.
Yeah.
But
Damian,
Damian,
we were just talking about the draft class of Ja Morant versus Zion, not necessarily who we would take.
Damian,
over.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I would probably
take Ja
in hindsight, I'll take Ja over Booker too. But if you're saying, we don't know what they're gonna be, I would still, if I had to do it over again, I would pick Zion. And for the reason that you mentioned, Craig, in college, in high school, he was clearly the best player on the floor. I mean, we've never seen anything like Zion. The closest you've seen to Zion Williamson is Charles Barkley, to me. If you remember the round, what they call them, the round mound, the rebound. You know, it Sir Charles was different. If you look at Charles Barkley in his younger years when he was with Philadelphia, Charles Barkley was athletic out of this world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, big guy, but can get up there. But even he realized, like he said, he had veterans that said, hey, bro, you got to lose weight. And I think the problem with Zion now is he didn't have that coming in to New Orleans. That whole team was very young. So you don't have anybody in his ears telling him how to be a professional. But now, Willie Green is going to be in your ear. He's this is his second year coaching where he can kind of, spread his wings. You bring in a CJ McCullough now, who's been a veteran on a winning playoff team. Brandon Ingram now is older. So I think now they will be able to help Zion because they're going to take the pressure off Zion having to be the savior for New Orleans. And remember, through these preseason games, we haven't seen B.I. And we saw the strides that B.I. made last year. I mean, B.I. has made himself one of those premier scorers in the league. So now you add a CJ, you got B.I., Zion, and to your point, Craig, I think he is going to have to develop a post game. Mm-hmm. If he's going to want to be successful in this league, you can't face up everybody because now you're opening yourself up to injuries like we saw of you rolling your ankle or you stepping on your own ankle. So hopefully he can develop that game, but I think Zion's going to be okay. I think Zion, you got help around him now. And New Orleans is a tough team. They have a pretty decent bench as well. And you can kind of, I'm not saying limit his minutes, but monitor his minutes. And you'll have those veterans in his ear making sure he eat right and try to give him advice. And I think Zion, with the personality from what I've seen, of course, we don't know the guy personally, but from what I've seen, he's susceptible to criticism and to help. I think he will welcome that instead of refusing it. So I think Zion is going to be A-okay. I think New Orleans is going to make some noise, but you guys bring up Ja. I've been watching Ja in the preseason too, and oh my God, it looked like the boy got better. How did you get better on something that was already good? And that's good with a T on it. How did you get better with something that was already good?
Well, he's improving his shooting. And dude, if he gets where he can shoot the ball, the league's going to be in trouble.
Oh my God. I mean,
yeah.
And you know what? Memphis loves this kid. And I'm not just talking about the team. I'm talking about the city of Memphis, the state of Tennessee. They love this kid. I mean, did you see he bought everybody out. He bought the hillbillies out. He bought the trappers and the rappers out. Everybody loved Ja down there, down south. I think Memphis is going to be interesting.
I think going into the NBA season that if people stay healthy, there's going to be a lot of good teams this year because Denver should be better if they're healthy. Pelicans, if Zion stays healthy, I think they're going to be better. The Bulls can be good if they can still stay healthy.
You still look out west is going to be tougher this year because Portland is going to be better. You got the Clippers now, who I think, in my opinion, is the biggest threat to the Warriors if they stay healthy. The Clippers is the biggest threat out west. And so you got Clippers, you got Dallas, you got Phoenix, Minnesota. Say what you want about Rudy Gobert, but that is going to be a formidable team to go, a very huge defensive-minded team, because now you're not going to have to rely on Cat to play that defense. You're going to let Gobert do it, and Cat, he likes to stay out of the paint and shoot threes anyway. He is a three-point champion. Let him do it. Oh, it's going to be interesting this year, man. I am excited about this NBA season, man. We kick it off on Tuesday. It's about to be big, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be big. There's a lot of great storylines. One of them being the Golden State Warriors in that situation.
The whole Draymond situation. Oh, he's going to be traded. He's going to get traded by midseason.
You think he'll be traded by midseason?
I don't think. Come on now. If you punched me like that and the world saw it.
Yeah, I don't see how they're going to be able to coexist.
Like I said, I'm under I'm under the mind like Shannon Sharp. Okay, every time you see me in practice, you might as well put your bag down. It's on site. We fighting every time. Oh, I got to get you back, and I need somebody recording it so they can put you out there.
And whoever leaked that out is going to be gone too once they find out.
Yeah, well,
was-
I heard that TMZ offered $100,000 for the clip. Would you pass on that?
Depends on how much I was getting paid by the Warriors, I guess.
That's double my salary.
I mean, if you're in from personal experience, if you're working with the team in recording practices and doing all that, doing it in college, I didn't get paid for it whatsoever. It was free. So if you're working with an NBA franchise, they have a lot of interns and they got people that are running those cameras. If you get your hands on it, you make zero and they offer you 100,000.
Hey, I take the money too.
I wasn't mad at him.
But you know, that's where we're at. But so coming out of that, Draymond Green did come back to the team on Tuesday, I believe it was, or no, Thursday. He rejoined yesterday, Thursday.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be playing the Lakers tonight, right?
They are playing the Lakers tonight, and Draymond Green was fined but not suspended on that situation. So that was something that I think we kind of agreed on that probably would happen. Fine, they're not really going to suspend him because, I mean, you're talking about, while yes, his skill set is at a certain level at this point in his career, but Draymond Green is still the emotional leader, the heart and soul of that team, for better or for worse in that point. So, you know, they weren't going to really severely punish him. Probably behind closed doors, they're like, "Hey, man, you need to get it together.
Take a chill pill or something."
Jordan Poole is the next great offensive player for this franchise. Hey, I'm not going to say that he's going to run the team, but you need to start treating him better.
Oh yeah, they told him to go make it right.
Yeah,
they told him to go make it right, and I don't see how you do it, but.
And they weren't going to suspend them for the opening game because of the
ring
ceremony and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so you knew they weren't going to suspend them for the first regular season game. If they would have done anything, I think they would have suspended them for like a preseason game. But what does that? What's that do?
Yeah, and they made up I saw somebody bring up a good point. I believe it was Shannon Sharp, and you know, if I'm Jordan Poole, I would feel some type of way. Like Draymond got suspended for calling, you know, Kevin Durant the B word, calling him out his name. You suspended him then to try to keep KD. But now this man is on video that's now a nationwide video, not only punching me, but knocking me out.
Got knocked out
on a fight that he provoked, bless you, on a fight that he provoked. And all you do is tell him to get away from the team for a week. Is that really fair? You know, ring ceremony or not, Draymond should have got suspended because, yes, Jordan Poole is, I'm not saying he's the next face of the Golden State Warriors, but he is now part of that big three. Like, I mean, he's proven himself. He's proved that he can score. I mean, even during the preseason, I mean, right after the fight, he come out and he gives somebody about 25 or 30. I mean, that's what he does. It's a pool party when he's on the court. So it's, you know, hopefully the Golden State Warriors can resolve this, because if they can get past this, I believe they are in line to repeat. To me, they're still the favorites. But like I mentioned, I think I said it in a comment, Craig, during one of y'all morning shows when I wasn't able to get on. Draymond is going to have the season of his life, because he's already now turned down the contract extension. He's turned it down now. He's not signing the extension. He wants to get paid. But how do you expect to get paid when you're acting like a clown?
Well, I think I don't think he's now acting the way that he is. He's always been that player.
Yeah.
You know, even going back a few years, he's always been that player. But now it's I can't remember who we were talking about, but we were talking about this earlier this week, I think. But there's a certain point where if your skill set is up here and your attitude is way down here, teams are willing to put up with your crap.
Oh yeah,
for so long.
But performance outweighs tolerance.
Yeah,
if you perform great, I can tolerate you. But the moment you start doing this or that tolerance now,
that's my point. So I think knowing that Draymond Green is coming up on a contract extension, and he's likely going to stay because he's tried to pull this before with the Warriors, where I'd really like to go play in Detroit, go back home, and play for Detroit. And well, they're going to give me X amount of dollars.
Would you want him in Detroit?
I would actually. I would, and it's not, but you got to set the expectations. I would say, because Draymond, I would love to see Draymond in Detroit, but not for the contract he wants.
Yeah.
He's not worth that.
The Warriors is the only team that would consider paying him what he's asking for.
Yeah.
Because they're paying him based off of the production he's already done, help win the titles they've won. So if I'm that team, or if I'm Draymond, right, I gotta play lights out this year, because when you hit that, I don't think he's gonna really hit the open market. I think he ends up going back to Golden State and stays there the rest of his career, barring something major. Now, if he continues to have problems in the locker room throughout the year and has career low numbers, Golden State's going to be like, thanks, but no thanks. We're not going to pay you that much. And then Draymond's got a decision to make. Are you going to go somewhere else to potentially get maybe more? I don't think Golden State would pay him as much as he wants if he has career lows and continues to have the issues in the locker room that he has.
Not to mention, and this is a point that I think goes over a lot of people's head, because they always hear when I say, I like Draymond and I think he should get paid. I understand that what he does doesn't show up on the stat sheets. Like, he's not going to be leading your team in assists. He's not going to be leading your team in points. He's not going to be leading your team in rebounds, but with the rebounds he should. But his intangibles, what he does not show up on the stat sheet. And as I always mentioned before, from a statistical standpoint, from an analytical standpoint, Steph Curry plays better when Draymond is on the court.
Yep.
So if your superstar is playing better with this person on the court, I want to keep this guy on my team. I want to keep this guy on the court. But if Draymond decides he doesn't want the extension and the Warriors are not going to pay him that, the question now is, can Draymond go to another team and still have the same success? I think it's a no.
I think it depends on, it's got to be the right situation. You got to have the right coach you got to have the right coach leading the franchise in order to have that
I answered it for you. Hell no. I would never trade Poole for no damn Draymond.
You don't trade Poole to keep Draymond.
I see where you're going with that, Damian. But yeah, there's no way, especially with Clay and Steph both in their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond's in his 30s. You got to get ready for the next. You got to get ready for the next generation, and that's where Poole is. Poole's going to be that next star.
Their next star player.
So that brings, I don't have the contract information in front of me for Jordan Poole, but I'm pretty sure that in the next 2 to 3 years he's available for a big extension. I think it's in the next 2 years he can get a big extension.
Yeah, we talking like $200 million.
Yeah, I mean, and you got a decision to make. You're gonna have to part ways with Klay Thompson or Draymond Green or somebody making all that money. You got to part ways with them because you don't have enough for everybody.
I'm gonna tell you right like this, Damian. Draymond,
you don't trade Poole.
He's not gonna get that extension. They're willing to extend him. They're just not willing to give him what he's asking for. And I think the sooner he realizes that, and the sooner he realizes that he's not gonna get that from any other team, I don't care how desperate the team is, they're not gonna pay Draymond that type of money, the better off he'll be.
And this is, so Damian's comment here is about, if Draymond stays, you have to trade Poole because of the cap. That's exactly what we're saying, Damian, but just in the other way around. If you have to choose between paying Draymond, who's 32 years old, or paying Jordan Poole, and then knowing you're going to have to get rid of Klay Thompson or, Steph Curry, at some point. Not saying they would do that. I know, I'm just saying hypothetically, Damian.
I know. That's why I ain't even say nothing.
Yep. But at that point, you're essentially going to have to decide, is it Draymond in Clay, or is it Jordan Poole? Because that's how much money we're talking here between those guys. So we're saying the same thing as you, Damian, but just the opposite way. There's no way Draymond's going to stay if they got to pay Jordan Poole all this money, and he's the future of the franchise.
They said that I'm looking here. He's a restricted free agent in 2023.
Okay, so restricted, and teams are going to open up the bag for him.
So after this, going into next season, they're going to have to do something with him after this season.
I mean, I could think of 5 teams right now at the top of my head that can use a Jordan Poole right now.
So here's a great question then. Okay, restricted free agent. How many teams are you, when you're making this plan for Jordan Poole to get him signed? You can't keep all those guys on the roster. Where do you trade Klay Thompson? Where do you trade Klay Thompson? Because Klay Thompson isn't the same guy since he come back from his injury. He's still one of the best shooters in the league, but he's getting up there in age too.
And they're saying, from what I'm reading, Jordan Poole is set to sign a big extension maybe this week.
Oh, there you go. So that's now you're fast forwarding the timeline that we're just talking about. So I don't think that's a big reason why Draymond's not going to get extended. If he does, it's got to be at a much, much lower number than what he's expecting. And I don't think he wants that, which I don't blame him. You only play for a certain amount of years. You got to try to set yourself up and your family up for the long term. So as a player, I don't disagree with that. But Draymond Green is not going, if Jordan Poole signs that extension, if and when they sign that extension, that tells Draymond Green that they've made their choice.
That's probably why they fought. Draymond probably knows it's all but writing on the wall.
Maybe. Damian says they could use Klay in Chicago. Hey, there's a lot of teams lining up that could use Klay Thompson.
But I think the Warriors would do Klay right. Even if they did get rid of him, they wouldn't put him in a. I think they would ask Klay for his input of where he would want to go.
They would.
I think.
But I would not trade him in the Western Conference.
No, I think Klay goes somewhere, maybe Milwaukee, maybe a Brooklyn. I don't think right now the Bulls are in shape to get him. With DeMar,
a team that would be in shape to get him that I wouldn't be mad at? Depends on what you got to give up. Detroit could use more shooters.
Or Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta would be interesting.
And I was just reading here. It said the Warriors have until October 17th to get something completed with Poole's representatives. Should that deadline pass, they'll have to wait until the offseason to resume negotiations.
Okay.
So they have like 3 days to get something done, or they have to wait till the offseason. And then offseason, he could get offers from other teams, and they would have to match it.
Yeah.
And Draymond's a free agent after this season too. So
yep. And that's why they've been talking about extensions, and that's why he's turned down any of the offers that have already been made by Golden State, because he wants to get paid what he believes he's worth, and he knows he doesn't bring the stat sheet stuff. What Rob Scott was saying, he brings those intangible stuff you can't put on paper, but he's one of the best. I'm not going to say that. He is the best communicator in the NBA on defense, offensively. Like, he's got a great mind for basketball. It's just the problem with him is that he gets in his emotions a lot, which puts him in scenarios where he gets teed up. He gets in fight with players. He gets in skirmishes in the locker room because guys aren't up to his standard. And that's not an indictment on him, because Jordan was like that in some ways too. If you weren't up to his standard, he was coming after you.
But Jordan was Jordan.
Right, exactly. That's why I'm not trying to compare the two, but I'm just saying from that perspective, that intangible perspective and that dog mentality, that's where if you weren't up to the standard, and that's where Draymond Green says that he felt Poole he wasn't up to the standard that they set in Golden State, which is why they had some words, but that's what Draymond brings to the table. And that's where, if you're Golden State, you got to make those decisions like, okay, if we can get something done with Jordan Poole, that means we're not going to have money for Draymond. We're not going to have money down the road. I don't remember how many more years Clay is on the team, but I think he's got a couple of years left, 2 or 3 maybe. But
I think so.
You got a lot of decisions to make if you're Golden State.
I think it's like 2 years left for Clay.
That sounds about right. 2 years. But yeah, NBA kicks off next week. Excited. I know the Pistons had their last preseason game last night. Didn't get a chance to watch all of it, just bits and pieces of it with the Thursday night game and, family in town and all that kind of stuff. Damien asked, Clay's to the Lakers. The Lakers, you would not trade in division. I don't think. That's the old school mentality I have. I would not trade in division. The second is the Lakers don't have enough to even begin conversations to get Clay. I don't think they have enough resources.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That'd be very intriguing because LeBron needs shooters. But I don't think the Lakers have enough to be able to make that move. I really don't. All right.
Unless they're gonna eat Russell Westbrook's contract and he goes over there as a free agent. But Clay, I don't see his asking price going down that much. And because I think Clay is gonna have a great year this year.
I agree. I think just the amount of weapons that they have on that team, everybody essentially working together on the same page. You got so many shooters on that team. Yes, there's only one basketball, but when you got guys that are just knockdown shooters like Steph, like Clay, like Jordan Poole has shown that he can do, that's a lot of shooters. And I think all those guys,
they don't have ego. Like they want to see each other win because they know when somebody's hot, it means that we're going to win anyway. Like I remember when Clay had that 60-point game, a game, by the way, I want to remind the audience, he only took 8 dribbles that game to get the 60 points. Mm-hmm. That shows you how deadly Clay is. Not to mention, I believe he scored those 60 in 3 quarters.
I'm going to say only 3 quarters.
3 quarters.
So we know what Clay can do, but that just shows when in order for him to have a game like that, means your team wanted to see you succeed. Steph doesn't mind taking a step to the side to let his team shine. That's the reason that KD was able to join that Warriors team. You can't have ego when you have a bigger goal in mind. And in a team sport like basketball, the better players you have on your team, the better your chances are of winning. So I think that the Warriors are going to be in a great position. I don't think, we can speculate, but I don't think they're going to be getting rid of Klay Thompson no time soon. They're going to offer him something. I don't think Klay even wants to leave.
He has 2
the
years.
Golden State Warriors. Yeah. So
I just looked. He has 2 years left on his 5-year contract.
Yeah, I knew it was like 2 years. Yeah. So,
yep.
I just think right now it's an exciting time in the NBA because even though the Warriors are the favorite, we don't have a definitive winner or a person we can say right now this team is going to win the championship.
I just hope my team's more competitive this year, but it's not looking good.
I don't think so. That's the challenge. That's the challenge with the small market team, though. But you've only got so much to work with, and that's why I give a lot of credit to Milwaukee for being able to do, because they're not considered a big market team either, and they were able to have a lot of success. Indiana had a lot of success for a number of years.
For a long time, and then now we're just garbage.
Well, you guys are going to have to just draft the right player, because I think with the small market temes, it's about the way you draft.
Well, that, and we can't keep our stars. Like we had Paul George, we couldn't keep him. You know what I mean? It's hard to keep them bigger name players.
I don't blame Indiana. I blame LeBron for Paul George.
So I guess to kind of wrap up this segment, what division do you think is going to be the toughest division in the NBA this year?
I'm saying Central Division in the East. I think
I think the Eastern Central.
Bulls, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Detroit is going to be a battle because Cleveland has got exponentially better. Exponentially better. I mean, bringing in Donovan Mitchell to a team that was already making their rise and trying to make the playoffs. Now you add Donovan Mitchell to a Darius Garland, to a Jared Allen, to a Evan Mobley. I mean, and like we said, we think Detroit is going to be better. We know what Milwaukee is, and we know what Chicago is. I think that Central Division is going to be tough.
Yeah, that's going to be. I think that's going to be a really tough division to look at. I mean, I've said this as soon as Cleveland made this move. Offensively, it's a no-brainer. They're going to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
They're going to score a lot of points. They got a lot of great scorers on that team. I'm worried about their perimeter defense at that point because Donovan Mitchell he's been all right as a perimeter defender, not anything that's going to make all team defense NBA. But that division, Chicago's trying to make a push. Detroit, I think, is going to be better than they were last year, but I still think they only get maybe 30 wins. They still got another year or so. I think, before they're really kind of making that push. But they could be a play-in team. You know, you're talking about that's 10 of 15 teams that could push for the postseason. Anthony Price said, Rob, jump off the Chicago boat before you hit the iceberg.
I think the Pacific Division in the West might be one of the toughest too, because you have the Warriors, the Clippers. I think are going to be real good. Who knows what the Lakers are going to do, and then in the Suns. But
yeah, that's where I think the toughest division is, just from top to bottom. You got 2 to 3 real top heavy teams in the West. Phoenix won 60 games last year, and Golden State won over 55. I think they had 56 wins last year. So you got that. Clippers, everybody's healthy, it seems like. John Wall came in and he's saying all the right things in preseason about just being the guy he wants to come in and help and, just be whatever the team needs type of mentality, which is something he hasn't always done. But if he can do that and be a supplemental scorer, be a knockdown shooter, you got a real tough division there. The Lakers, like you said, the Lakers are the Lakers. We don't really know what they're going to get yet. But if they make a move, like Damian said, this is from the Pacers perspective, but if they do actually make a move somehow to move Buddy Hield and Miles Turner to the Lakers for, say, a Russell Westbrook or somebody the Lakers want to get rid of, I agree. I don't think it's going to happen. But say that move is made where the Lakers get these two guys and you put them on the team with LeBron, AD, now you've got a much more formidable team in the Staples Center. So I agree with you, Gonzo. I think the Pacific Division is probably the hardest on paper, with the Clippers, Lakers, Phoenix, and Golden State. So I think all those different teams is going to make it really, really tough.
If the Pacers play for Westbrook, I might have to find a new team.
You know what? I wanted to say this. I wanted to say
a good young star in Detroit, Gonzo. You want to jump on the bandwagon? Get in now.
I wanted to say the Pacific Division, but it's all bearing injury. Like, will the Clippers be able to get to the finish line in one piece? Does Westbrook have a better year for the Lakers? Because they're going to need him to be Westbrook of old if they stand any chance of making the playoffs. And then with Phoenix, are they trending in the opposite direction? because you go to the finals, and then the next year you get eliminated from the playoffs. And now, what is the trajectory of Phoenix? And not to mention DeAndre Ayton, I don't think he wants to be there. So that's the reason I said Central, because these are some young guns, and it's gonna be a battle to the end, because even though Milwaukee is the clear-cut favorite, never say never. And that brings me to AP. I will never jump off the Chicago ship. We see red till we see nothing.
See, I was fine with the Pacers making that and getting Ayton, and then that ended up falling through because they matched it, which they could still trade for him late in January. I think Ayton's going to be gone from the Suns in January once they're allowed to trade him.
Yeah, they was bogus for matching Indiana's offer.
They matched it for one
go.
reason, because they didn't want to lose him and not get anything. Now they can trade him and get something for him. That was the only reason they matched it.
That was it. Yeah.
Yep. And yes, Westbrook is coming off the bench tonight in the final preseason game for the Lakers.
He should. He should. And it has nothing to do with his play. I get that you're mad. You know, you're a disgruntled employee right now. Your job pretty much told you they don't want you. But
they can't do nothing with you.
At the same time, you're there, you know. I'm not always the happiest at work, but you know, you have to be there for the team, and not being in the huddle, not being there with your team when your team needs you. To me, that warrants you coming off the bench. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. But you not participating and celebrating with your team and being in the huddles and being in the pregame rituals and whatnot, you know, stuff like that. We don't need that energy, man. We don't need that energy. You know why we don't want you? Because of the way you played. So if you want us to want you, play better. When is Russell Westbrook going to take a look in the mirror and say, it's my fault?
That's always been the knock on him.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't know either. But Russell Westbrook has a really big potential, a big opportunity in this scenario, because if he does come off the bench, you're playing against second unit, against guys that you can, if he's all about the stats, if you accept the 6-man role, you could destroy the stat sheet. And that's what Russell Westbrook has always kind of been about, is destroying the stat sheet, you know, averaging triple doubles for a couple of years, which is a crazy stat to think about, that we never saw it for years and years and years. Didn't he carry the team last year asking for a friend? When he's the only one that's healthy, absolutely. He carries the team. But that's why I think the Lakers aren't going to get rid of him, because they know AD's maybe going to play maybe 35, 40 games, maybe.
If we're lucky.
If they're lucky. And the other part is LeBron, at his age, they're going to load manage him. He might only play, out of 82 games, he might maybe play 70. And that's
maybe 65, somewhere around.
Yeah,
there.
It just kind of depends. So that's a big reason why they had brought him in the first place, Russell Westbrook in the first place, because the fact that you've got these different, it's a three. They wanted the big three. They wanted that big three, and they realized that, oh dang, Russell Westbrook doesn't really fit in well with these guys, but now we've got him. We're paying him all this money, and we got to do something with him. So yes, he did carry the team last year because they got nothing else.
Are we really calling that carrying the team? He just showed up to work.
He just showed up to work. Because didn't the Lakers have 30, 35 wins? Something like that?
Yeah, it was way under 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think Schroeder's thinking after turning down all that money? That dude.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up Dennis Schroeder, because I said I hope Draymond Green doesn't turn into him, because he's turning down that extension. And if he doesn't have a good year this year, he can kiss that big contract shit goodbye.
Yeah, look how much money Schroeder cost himself.
Yeah, and Damien's comment, you know, what's the thoughts on Schroeder injuring his thumb, missing the season opening week?
At this point, Damien, who cares? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so as it plays out, probably early next week, we'll get into some predictions Rob, we got to have you back on for that.
Oh, I'll be on. Look,
Yeah.
I try to jump on here when I can. I'll be on the move with my job, man. We always on the move. So every chance I get, though, I got to get back to my passion.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more NBA early next week as NBA opening night quickly approaches. Just some other notes, and then we gotta wrap up the show here. We're already at 2 hours, so we got
what a great time we've had.
And what a great time we've had. We appreciate everyone checking in and tuning in, commenting on all the different platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn as well. But news and notes out of baseball: Carlos Correa, who signed a big contract with the Twins, has an opt-out after the first year, and he's planning to take it and hit the free agency waters yet again, which doesn't really surprise me. He had a very, very strong year in Minnesota. They didn't make the playoffs, and now he's just going to dip back in and
get paid again.
So that's something that we're going to talk about. Something we'll talk about a little bit later on when free agency, of course, comes back around. The other big news and note from yesterday is the Yankees-Guardians game got canceled, postponed. So now the Yankees and Guardians are going to have to play 4 games in 4 days after they were rained out.
Supposed to play today, but I heard the forecast isn't good for today either. So,
yeah, absolutely. So now it's going to be game 2. It's going to be played Friday. It's actually going to start in an hour at 1:00 Eastern. So that's going to be something to pay attention to. They're going to be playing 4 games in 4 days. So we'll see how that affects all the pitching rotations for each team. And that's because that's something that the Guardians, they needed.
It helps the Yankees.
What's that?
It helps the Yankees because now they're probably only have to see Bieber 1 game.
And that's the thing is, like, if you're the Guardians, you wanted to roll Bieber out, who's been really hot. And that's probably your best chance to win and steal a game against the Yankees in the ALDS. But if you now have to push back his start, I don't know if he's going to pitch today. I don't know if they've announced who the starters are going to be. They probably did.
It's supposed to be Bieber and Cortez.
Bieber and Cortez are going to still pitch today?
Yeah, that's the last I heard.
Okay. All right. Rob Scott, appreciate you joining us, brother. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you guys, man. Have a great one. Hey, remember, y'all, peace up, ASAP down. Let's get it.
Peace up, ASAP down. That's great. All right. But yeah, some news and notes. So today we've got 3 different games that are going to be on TV today. You got the ALDS Yankees Guardians game 2 is at 1:07. Oh, Damien, we're not going to touch on that one. You're talking about Jay McLovin on Unscripted. I didn't get a chance to see what happened yesterday, but and we always try to push your buttons, Damien.
I don't know what happened yesterday either. I went on Unscripted yesterday. I had a wrestling interview with the wrestling promoter for this Saturday because I have a big show tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah, so we don't know what. I honestly don't know. I've been a little busy yesterday, planning for a wedding this weekend. That'll be a lot of fun. But today, 1:07, Guardians Yankees game 2 on TBS at 4:37. We got the Braves and Phillies in game 3 on FS1. That series now is in Philadelphia. Game 3 of the Dodgers-Padres series in San Diego is also on FS1 at 8:37 yesterday. No, I saw his comment. 8:37 tonight. Padres and Dodgers. But he said Mariners won yesterday. Well, the Mariners didn't win yesterday. They lost 4-2 last night against the Astros. They're now down 2-0. Now it's a must-win scenario for Seattle in this weekend.
Tomorrow, I think.
They play tomorrow in Seattle, and now it's a must-win because
they had a chance to win both those games too.
Yep. And my thought process was, if the Mariners can't steal game 1 or they can't steal this game with Luis Castillo,
I I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in big trouble. I don't think they win a game, honestly. I think the Astros win it, they sweep, and then they move on.
You can't lose that game after you jumped all over Verlander like that in game one. You can't lose that. And then you get Castillo comes out and pitches a great game for you yesterday, and you lose it. Real quick, I was looking that they do as of right now. It's saying that it's going to be Bieber versus Cortez.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, coming back Monday. What's that?
Braves new Strider up. Strider is going to start today now.
Fantastic. That's something that Strider had that big contract extension, foregoing his year of arbitration, and that was the question mark. Was he going to be? They added him to the NLDS roster. They didn't know if he was going to pitch, but now it sounds like he is going to pitch game 4. Correct? Because they got Charlie Morton. They got Charlie Morton.
They moved. They switched it. They took out Morton and going to pitch Strider tonight.
Oh, there you go. So that's
Morton will probably pitch game 4. I would say.
That's going to be fun to watch for sure. So all those games, we got a great slate of stuff going on. And of course, we didn't even have time to talk about college football or any of the big NFL games going on this weekend. But on Monday, we will be back at it. I will not be present. I'm getting married this weekend on Sunday, so I will not be here Monday. But Ray and the guys will be here with you ASAP in the morning, 10 to 12, Monday through Friday. And you can find us on all the different platforms. We're live on 5 different platforms, 6 different platforms this morning. We're everywhere with All Sports All Plays Network. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can find us on YouTube, ASAP Sports Network, on Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Hit the like, hit the share, subscribe, comment. We love interacting with everybody throughout the show. Damian, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All the family's coming in town today. All the last minute stuff, and it'll be good. Now we just wait for everybody to show up and get this thing done. So, but Gons, you are going to be on the afternoon blitz today, Easy Money, and then you have Horseshoe Talk tonight, correct?
Yep. And then I have Gonzo and the Judge Sports Talk. So I got a busy day today.
Gonzo's Fridays are always stacked here on All Sports All Plays Network.
We'll start afternoon blitz at 1 Eastern.
Start at 1 Eastern. So starting in just 45 minutes, afternoon blitz gets started. So stay tuned here to All Sports All Plays Network on all the platforms that you tune in from. And then for Gons, you'll see him in a few minutes. For Gons, I am Craig. And for Rob, who had joined us earlier, have a great weekend, everyone. Happy Friday. I will see you Tuesday, but we'll see you here Monday morning, ASAP in the morning, 10 a.m. on all platforms. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you Monday. If I can find the video, we'll get you out. All right, here we go. Out. Have a good weekend.
All Sports All Plays. All Sports All Plays. All Sports All Plays. 365, we're making a place. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All Sports All Plays.